Yeah, okay.
Perfect. So let me quickly share my screen here and let me show my presentation. So, okay, and we have,
Yeah, okay.
so let me quickly share my screen here and let me show my presentation. Perfect. Welcome back, my friends. I'm Faraz Sheikh from Saudi Arabia, Microsoft uh, Excel and Power Platform Meetup. It's been long time, we haven't met, and it's very nice to see all of you again here. And as you know, this place is Meetup. It's the one place where in finite solution we come and we connect and we share and learn together. And by the way, just to let you know that this session has been getting recorded, and I have one of my friends, she has joined. And just this is a quick introduction about myself. I'm Faraz Sheikh, and most of you know me that okay, I'm an MVP and an MCTMIE, and my mission is with the community, to make the easiest solution, and just enjoy, the technology what Microsoft is providing, and my passion is also to learn and gain from all of you. And if you are interested in sharing your superhero skills to the community, then I would just ask you that you please write down to me, and I'll be really happy. We can organize a meetup. We can come and talk about technology, whatever you like, Power BI, Excel, connecting Excel with Google Sheets, anything, whatever you love it. We are just going to talk about tech over here and share the knowledge together. And just to make sure, and if you are facing some experience on connectivity, just to make sure that you can just sign out and sign in again. And if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand or put a question queue in the comment box. And when the presenter will be available, she can definitely check out your questions and can reply you. So I would just like to warm welcome my friend Alejandra. She is back again over here, Women in Tech. As you know, that this year also I'm trying to do a series of Women in Tech, and it's my honor to have Alejandra over here again. And it's such an honor that these lovely women are coming and speaking at the meetup, and they're sharing their knowledge. This is really great for me over here in Saudi Arabia. So, Alexandra, I'll leave the floor to you, and you can just take the lead and share us today what do you have these amazing stuff going on. Because I saw some great slides already. Alexandra she has prepared it, and so I'll not take much time, so we can get back to the business and we can see what she has for us.
Thank you so much, Faraz. I appreciate those kind words. Thank you so much. The honor is mine. I'm very happy. I'm very lucky to be here again. I enjoy very much presenting to your audience. Thank you, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching around the world. Thank you so much for joining us. And today we are gonna learn when the time is tight, get your queries right. So I'm a big fan of Power Query. My name is Alejandra Horvath. As far as said, for those who don't know me, I'm a CPA in Canada and I'm a certified Excel expert by Microsoft. I'm an Excel and Power Query trainer, and you can find me as Alejandra Horvath in my YouTube channel and Alejandra Horvath in Espanol as well if you are looking for some content in Spanish. So you can also find me there. Today, we are going to learn how we are going to transform very messy files, meaningless files as they are right now. As you can see in here, I only have the product number, I have the quantity of sales per month, but you can see that there is no consistency on these files. You see that I have empty columns. And by the way, let me just bring this here so I can show you what I mean. So you can see that I have empty columns around here. The months are all over the place. I have the beginning of the month, the end of the month, like it's all over the place. So we are gonna find some meaning on this information, and we are going to transform this into meaningful data that is going to allow us to see which product we um, are bringing more profit than others, and probably we need to focus more on selling those products rather than those that are not bringing much profit to the company. So from those messy files, you will see that we can get graphs, we can get pivot tables, we can have that meaningful information that can help to make the right decision, right? The right business decision. We're gonna go straight to the demo, and we're gonna work with Excel. I have Microsoft 365 for PC, what you are gonna learn here is also useful in Power BI. And without further ado, let me show you the final product. Here I have, as I mentioned, the products that we sell, and I have listed here the products that are bringing the most gross profit. For example, here I have shirts that are bringing a 57% of gross profit, and I probably need to focus on selling this more rather than selling pants that are bringing only the 20%, right? So you can see here that I'm selling a lot of runners. So is it worth it to keep selling runners? Well, probably yes, because I have a 38% gross profit. But I need to focus a little bit more and see what I can do to increase the sales of products that are bringing more profit than others, right? So that is as an example what we're gonna do today. Also, I can categorize my sales by region, by category of the products that I'm selling, right? So, and I'm going to show you the files, how they come, how messy they come to start with. So I'm going to work with the files that are here on my desktop. On my folder demo, Saudi Arabia SA 2025, May 29, and there is a folder called sales. And there you are going to see that I have my files from East, North, and South. I'm going to select them and press Enter to open them. And as I mentioned in the presentation, you notice that there is no consistency. This file for North sales has empty columns, has the first column on the column C, and it has two tabs, one that goes from January to September, and the second tab goes from October to December. And same thing, I have empty columns on this file. My next file is the East sales, and this one doesn't have empty columns, and it goes straight from January to December, only has one tab. Now close this one as well. And my third file is South, and this tab, the first tab says January to June. However, when you look at the title, when you look at the content, you have only January to May, and it goes from May to January, right? So the other files were from January to the next month. In this case, it goes backwards. So the first month is at the end. And let's go and see the next tab that says July to December. Well, July to December has June, and then it has July, August, and it goes from June to December. So it's a mess, right? So just what you want to see when you're in the rush and you need to provide this information in a very short period of time. So Power Query can come and help us to make sense of this information. So I only have 3 files in this folder. So at the end, when we finish our query, I'm going to test that our process works. So I have here on the demo folder one file that is called West. I'm going to say Control C. I'm going to go to Sales, and I'm going to Control V to paste. I'm going to open that file so you can see it. And there you see that this file doesn't have any empty columns and goes from January to December. Same thing, it goes backwards, goes from the last month to the first month. So I'm going to close that. Now that I added that information into my folder, I'm going to right click. Before I do that, notice that the sales that I have here with 3 regions is 8,128,000. I'm going to right click. And here at the bottom, I don't have the West. I have East, North, and South. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to refresh. Now I added that new file with West, right? So I go there, and sure enough, now I have the West sales, and I have 11 million total in sales. So You say, well, okay, well, Alejandra, this file has all the columns. It doesn't have any empty columns. Okay, so fair enough. I'm going to select the column and I'm going to add some empty columns. And I can leave them blank, or I can say this column is going to be empty. And the other one, I'm not going to type anything. I'm going to save it. I'm going to close it. And I'm going to refresh my pivot table so you can see that even though I did that, it doesn't impact my query from running properly. So I have my 11 million, I have my West category region, so it's working properly. So I'm gonna press Control Z to undo what I did, and I get exactly the same 11 to 32, just in case you didn't catch the total. So Control Z to undo what I did, so you can see that that was the number before I refreshed my pivot table with the additional empty columns. And if I refresh again, right click and refresh, my 11 to 32 doesn't change. So that is the magic of Power Query when you have your queries right. So today we're going to use Power Query and we're going to use Power Pivot. So you can see how creating these measures are going to help you when you have a big set of data from your raw files, let's say. Okay, so you saw the sales file, and I'm gonna go back to my folder sales and I'm gonna delete this West file. I'm gonna go back to my demo folder and I have a file called dim products. I'm gonna double click there so I can show you the dimensional tables that I have here. So these are lookup tables. I have every single product with the unit cost, the unit selling price. In the first table, the table is called dim product cost sales, and the second table is called demo product category. And this one has the product, has the description, and the category that these products belong to. Notice that this table has product dash and the number of the product. The other table has product space, the number of the product. Our sales file or files also have product space, number of the product. That is important because we need to transform this table. We need to transform the content of this column to match the other columns so I can merge queries, I can connect tables, so the information that I have is similar. So that is very important to know. Okay, so I'm gonna close this file as well. I'm gonna open a new workbook here. And from here, I'm gonna go to data, get data from file, from folder. And I said I was in the desktop demo May 2025, May 29, and my folder is called sales. Double click there and I'm gonna click open. Here, Control C plus to zoom in more. You can see the content of that folder. My 3 files are here, and the content of that of those files is brought as binary type. So I'm not ready to combine. I'm not ready to load. I need to transform those files first. So I need to transform data first. The Power Query editor opens. As I said, I'm using Microsoft 365, and the Power Query editor is showing me on the left the queries pane. This is where I'm going to see all my queries. I have only one right now that is called sales. That is the name of the folder. That's why Power Query called my query in that sales. And here I'm going to hide the queries pane so we have more room here where we have the table. And on the right, we have the query settings. So I'm going to press Ctrl Shift plus to zoom in and maybe a little bit more. Here on the right, Power Query will be recording every single step that I take to transform my data. Before we keep going, when you have the files, of course, you won't have this directory. This is my directory where I have those files saved. So I'm going to Control C this information from C up to May 29. I'm going to expand the queries pane. I'm going to create a blank query. Right click in anywhere here on the blank side. I'm going to say new query, other sources, blank query. I'm going to paste what I just copied. And I'm just going to double click where it says query one, and I'm going to call that my directory. So when you have these files and you save them in a folder, make sure that you change this information and you paste the path for your directory before the folder saves. Okay. So now that we have this information here, I'm going to just replace that in here. So I'm going to select everything up to May 29. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to the C as well. And now I'm going to concatenate the text that I'm bringing from my directory. I'm going to provide the ampersand to concatenate with the text sales, and I'm going to click at the check mark. Nothing changes, but now if I make any change here and I provide anything else, and I try to go to my query sales, I'm going to have an error because now that is not the proper directory. So this is telling me that any information that I have in here, if I change the directory to the directory where you are going to save your files, then that should work. Okay, as long as you call a folder inside of that directory, a folder called sales, where you are going to save the sales files, right? The east, north, south. Perfect. Now I'm gonna hide the queries pane again. So we have more room over here. And now I want to transform the information that I have in my column content. And I also want to transform the content on my column name, because as you saw in the files for the sales, I don't have the name of the region inside of the files. So I need to bring that information with me so I can add that to the table, and I can identify where the sales are coming from, which region is generating those sales. So I'm gonna keep only the columns that I'm gonna work with. So at the end, where the closing parenthesis is, I'm gonna provide double set of square brackets, and I'm gonna keep 2 columns. So this is it's called projection, and I'm gonna indicate which columns I want to keep. If I want to keep one column as a list, I can provide only one set of square brackets and provide the name of that column inside of one set of square brackets. In my case, I want to keep columns from a table, and I want to keep that table, right? So I'm gonna say content. That's the first column, and actually I want name first and content after. So I'm gonna provide another set of square brackets. I'm gonna say name. I want to say comma, closing the first square bracket, and then I provide the comma, and then I provide the name of the next column that I want to keep. I can keep providing column names inside of one set of square brackets, but remember that at the end, those square brackets will be captured in one set of square brackets overall, right? So these first and last are grouping those column names, okay? So I'm gonna click at the check mark, and now you see that name is first, and then we have content. Perfect. So let's start transforming our columns. I'm gonna click at FX, where I'm gonna create a new step. And here, after the equal, I'm gonna say table transform columns. Open parentheses, the table is coming from my previous step called source, which is the table that we're seeing here with 2 columns. I'm gonna press comma, and I need to provide the transform operations as a list. I'm gonna tell Power Query that this is a list through a curly bracket. A curly bracket is telling Power Query that this inside of this curly bracket, the content is a list. And the name of the column that I want to transform first will be the column name. And I'm gonna say comma, and I need to provide the operation, and I'm gonna provide that through a function. Each is a key word for a function, and I'm gonna say that I want to keep the text before the limiter. I'm gonna open parentheses. The text is coming from every single line of my column name, so I'm gonna provide the underscore that is telling Power Query to look at every single line on this column name. And after that, I'm gonna say comma. And what is the delimiter? The delimiter will be the dot, or I can provide dot XLSX. Either way will work. So I'm lazy, so I'm gonna just provide the dot. So let's say efficient, I'm gonna just provide the dot. I'm gonna say go to the end, close parentheses, so you can see that I have transformed the first column. The first column now doesn't have XLSX, right? So doesn't have the extension. Okay, I did it right. What I didn't do right is that I provided only one set of curly brackets. So I'm telling Power Query that this is only one column that I want to transform. So I'm going to press Shift Enter with the where the first curly bracket is. And I'm going to provide press Shift Enter again. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to provide an additional curly bracket. And this is because I'm going to have several columns, in this case, two columns that are going to be transformed. So they are going to be grouped inside of one set of curly brackets. So my first column was the column name. I'm going to go to the end and just before the closing parentheses, Shift Enter and Shift Enter again. So this is my first column. After the closing curly brackets for the column name, I'm going to provide a comma, and I'm going to provide the second column that I want to transform. The second column is the column content, and comma, and I need to provide the operation, and I want to bring this information as a workbook. Excel workbook. I don't want the binary data. I want the workbook. And the workbook needs to be provided for this function as binary, right? Binary content here. I have in every single line of my column content. So I'm going to provide that underscore. And that's about it. And I'm going to go to the next line. I'm going to provide the closing curly bracket. This closing curly bracket is closing this original curly bracket that is grouping all the columns inside, right? So go to the end, press enter, and now you see that my column content doesn't say binary anymore, it says table. So it has transformed that information into workbooks, and now I have a table that is going to show me the content of those workbooks. So the workbook North has two sheets, right? So now I can see that content over here. Okay, so from the information that I have in these tables here at the bottom, this information that I have clicked here on the right beside where it says table, and now I can see the content of that information here at the bottom. So the only information that I want to keep from these nested tables will be the name and the data. Okay, so I'm going to go to the column content, click at those two arrows facing opposite sides. I don't want to add the original name of that column as prefix, and I'm going to uncheck all the columns, and I just want to bring name and data. And actually, I don't even need name because I already have, I'm going to cancel here. I already have the name of the region here. And here the name is just going to bring me sheet in every single one, or in the name of that sheet, January to September. But as we saw, that information is not reliable because in the file south, we say we have a sheet that says January to June, but it really has information from January to May, right? So I just need to bring the column data, that is the one with the tables. So I'm going to click to those two arrows facing opposite side here beside the content column, and I'm going to remove the check mark, and I'm going to just check the data column. I'm going to say OK. And now if I click beside where it says table, now I have the content of my table here at the bottom. Okay, and I'm going to just pause a little bit here, and I'm going to check if there are any questions because I'm not looking at the chat. So if there are any questions or any comments that I should address before I keep going. And I don't see anything. No? Okay. Okay, and thank you everyone who is joining. I see some familiar names. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. I really appreciate that you are all here. And for those who are just meeting me for first time, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time in this presentation. Excellent. So let's keep going. Now you can see that these tables that I have in this column data have the first line that really is indicating the name of the columns. So you can see it in here. Every single table will have that. Will have that first column that has really the name of the columns, right? So what we're gonna do, we can promote that line as headers, or we can use, I'm gonna go one step before this, and that reminds me I haven't renamed my step. So I went one step back where it says custom, and I'm gonna press F2, and this is gonna be workbook because it's where I brought the workbooks. So I have my key step names. So, and in here, remember that I transform the content of the column content through to a workbook. This function gives me an additional parameter, an optional parameter, which is use headers as any. And if I provide a true here, so after the underscore, I provided a comma, so I'm able to see that I have another parameter there. And if I provide true, saying yes, I want to use the first line as header, so I want to promote the first line as headers, I press the check mark, I go to my next step, and now I can see that my table have that first line promoted as the headers of my columns. So, and I didn't have to create another step to do that, right? So now that I have that information here, what did I do? I expanded content. So I'm gonna rename my step as X content so I can keep my step still with a meaning, but not as long, so my code can read a little bit better when I have short names for the steps. So it just is easier for me to read my code. Okay, now that I have that, I can expand actually no, we are gonna transform first these nested tables that we have here. We need to get rid of those empty columns. So let's do that. So we are going to start with, so in this case, most of all our columns or empty columns are title, their title starts with column, right? However, if I have files in the future that have empty columns and they have any other name, then I, if I just capture the name of the columns by containing column, then I won't capture those columns that in the future may have a different title. So for that reason, I'm gonna apply a technique today with table profile where we are gonna capture the empty columns regardless of the name of the column, okay? So let's create a new step here and we are going to transform the column data. So table, transform columns, open parentheses to the table that is coming from my previous step, which is this table that I'm seeing right here. I'm going to provide a comma, and I really want to see the content of that column. So I'm going to select table transform columns, Control X. So I'm going to press enter so we can see again our table. And I want to see a table with an empty column. Okay, so I'm gonna go after the equal, press Control V to paste. So I go back to table transform columns. I'm gonna provide a comma after the name of the previous step. I'm gonna provide the operation as a list. Transform operations as a list, so curly brackets, and I'm gonna provide the name of the column. So, and quotation marks because it's text, I'm gonna provide data comma, the operation will be each. And I'm gonna go to the next line, shift enter. I'm gonna provide the let expression. So anything, so I'm gonna provide the steps that are gonna transform these tables inside. So inside of my expression let will be the process that I want to perform in these tables. So my first variable will be A, and this variable will have a value. That value will be calculated through table profile, and that function will bring me the count of items on each column and the count of nulls. So I want to apply that function to every single table in column data. So for that reason, I'm going to provide the underscore, and I'm not going to provide a comma at the end. So I'm going to provide shift enter, provide the expression in. So let opens the process, in closes the process, and then now I need to provide which value I want to bring back. So I only have one variable, so I'm going to bring the value a. Go to the end, close parentheses, enter. Now I can see that my tables don't have the information from the file. It has different information, the column names, the minimum, the maximum number that it was found in that table, etc. What I'm very interested on is the count of lines, of the count of items, and the null count. When these two are the same, that means that all the items in that column are empty. So of course, the first table doesn't have empty columns, but my second table has empty columns, and you can see them right here. These ones have exactly the same amount of null items and exactly the same amount of lines, let's say. So, and you can confirm here that is column 7 to 12, etc. So that's what I'm looking for. So what I need now, I'm going to add a column to this table, next table. I want to add a column that is going to deduct, it's going to subtract count minus null count, and I will get anything that is 0. I want to keep the name of those columns. So here, I'm going to go back to my formula bar, provide a comma after the closing parentheses for table profile, shift enter to go to the next line. My next variable will be b. So now the process will be table add column to the tables that are coming from my variable a. So the tables that we're seeing here at the bottom, comma, the name of the table, the column, the new column, I'm gonna say set. It doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna use it as placeholder so I can see those that difference, right? So, and the operation that I want to process in that new column will be count, provide the square brackets for the name of the column, minus null count. So those are the names of these columns right over here. And that's all that I want. I want to change the result that I want to bring, and will be the variable, the value of variable b. I'm going to click at the check mark, and let's look here and see we have now our column set, and now we have that information that we need when the null count and the count are exactly the same, so the difference will be 0. I want to keep those lines that are only 0. So I'm going to go back here to my formula bar. I'm going to provide comma after the table add column function here in variable b. I'm going to provide variable c equal, and I'm going to say table select rows, open parentheses, to the table that is coming from my variable b, which is the table with the new column, comma, and the condition is that I want to check every single line there, and I want to bring from column set anything that equals 0. I go to the end, and now I want to bring the value of my variable c. And if the enter doesn't work, click at the check mark over here. And now you see that I have only the lines where my column set has 0. If I click at the ist file, I have nothing because I didn't have empty columns. But the other files have columns that are empty. So that's what I want. And what the information that I need from here is only the information that is coming from the column, because I want the names of those columns. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to bring that as a list. And I'm going to do a projection. Remember at the beginning I mentioned when I want to bring the column, the content of a column as a list, I provide only one set of a square bracket. So I'm going to provide the name of the column there, the column. And I'm going to click at the check mark. So you can see now that I have a list, and the content is the name of those columns that I want to delete. Okay, so this is looking very good. So I'm going to go to the end of a variable c, back to my formula bar, I'm going to create a new variable D. This is equal. And I'm going to bring the content, the original content from my column data. So I'm just going to provide the underscore, so it will bring the content of every single line. And now I'm going to change here the result. I want to bring that. I'm going to say click check mark. And now you see that I have the original tables with the empty columns. That's exactly what I want because I want to remove the columns that are listed on my variable C. So after the equal from variable D, I'm going to say table remove columns, remove columns, right here. From the table that is coming from my original column data, which is this underscore, which is what we are seeing right here. And I'm gonna say that I want to provide the name of those columns as any. I need to provide that really as list. And I have that information from my variable C already. So I'm gonna close parentheses and press enter or click at the check mark here. And now you will see that all the files won't have any of the empty columns. So that's perfect. And it doesn't matter the name of the columns. I don't have any hard-coded column names that I have removed. So if in the future the empty columns have a title, it doesn't matter, it will be removed, right? So we are working, we're doing good right over here. Okay, now that I have this information ready, I can just unpivot the information that I have in here. So let's do that. So at the end of variable D, I'm going to provide a comma. I'm going to go to the next, will be E equals table unpivot other columns. Open parentheses, and I need to provide the tables. I'm going to provide those tables that are coming from my variable D without the empty column. And I need to provide the pivot column as list. So I know that the only column that I'm going to keep will be the product number. I can provide like the name of that column name, the first item there. But in this case, this will never change. So I'm comfortable saying that product number is the column that I want to keep as is. I'm not gonna move, I'm not gonna transform that column. I'm gonna leave it as is. That column right over here will stay on the left. And now, and it's the only column that I'm gonna keep like that. So comma, I need to provide the name of the column where all the attributes will go. So I'm gonna call that month. All the months will go in one column. And comma, I need to provide the name of the column where all the values will go, all the quantity that was sold will go. So I'm gonna provide that as quantity. I'm gonna change the result here after my expression in. I'm gonna change that for E. I want to bring that value and let's see what happens. And now you see that all my tables have been transformed and I have the month in one column and the quantity in another column. Do we have any questions before I continue?
There's one question in the chat from the YouTube from Ismail.
Okay.
Question is that I I have why the steps
Okay.
relates to directory ones. Why is what is the intention?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I'm doing this because when you have your queries linked to a directory, in this case, we have only one query right now, but we are going to bring another two tables. So we're going to bring another two queries, and I'm going to link those queries to that directory query. So once you have that, when you change the directory, you can change it only here, not in every single query. So if you don't have this my directory, then you will need to change that in the source step for every single query that you are going to have in this workbook. So it's a very good question. Thank you, because I didn't mention that. So thank you for asking that. So that is the reason why, and I should have mentioned that we are doing this because we have more queries and all of them are linked to that directory that I have in here. And it's just easier when you are going to change the directory to now your folders where you are going to have these files. So you can just change them right over here. Just copy and paste your new directory, and that's all that you will need to do. Okay? Thank you for the question. It was a very good question. Thank you. And okay, perfect. Okay, let's keep going then. So now I have the information ready. I can add the information from this. Let me see what time is it. Okay, I think I'm gonna do it in the quick way. I was going to show how to put the east inside of these tables, but it's gonna take time and we still need to transfer this to the data model and we need to create some measures. So I'm gonna do it in the quick way. So now what I want to do here, I want to expand the data that is in my column data, and I want to do it in a dynamic way, right? So if I use the function combine on these tables, it will combine all the data, but it will ignore the information that is in column name, and it won't bring that information into that table combine, right? So, and if I expand the information that I have in this column data, if I click at these two arrows and I expand all of that, I say, okay, I have an issue because I have the name of the columns hard coded, and I don't like that. But I keep the information from my column name, which is really the region. So how we are going to fix this is I'm going to bring the information that is coming from my previous step. So I'm going to remove the last step so I can show you something before we go there. So when I have, first, it's very important, all the tables now have exactly the same number of columns and names of those columns. So regardless of what table I expand, they will always have the same column name. So I'm going to expand the first table, and you can see that the code here says, and I'm going to copy it, it's coming from the table from my previous step, is getting into the first item of that table, which is position 0 for Power Query. The first line is position 0, the second line position 1, and so on. So it's bringing the information from the first line, position 0, from the column data. So let's go back to our step. So column data, first item, and I'm bringing that from that step custom 1, right? So if I go here and I say table column names, open parentheses, go to the end, go to the close parentheses and press enter. Now I have the list of the columns that are in any of the tables inside of that column. So I'm going to copy all of this and I'm going to remove this step. So I'm going to go back to that custom step. I'm going to click at the rows and I'm going to expand. Say OK. And now I'm going to replace this list. This first list is the columns that are being expanded. And the second list is the names that I want these columns to be renamed. If Power Query for default provides exactly the same name. If I want to rename the column mon for the name M, you can see here that now it doesn't say mon, it says M, right? So that is the purpose of having these two lists. So I'm going to remove them, and I just want to expand the columns with the names that they have, and that's about it. So I'm going to paste what I just copied. I want to bring the column names from my previous step, from the first item, from that table in the first item in my column data. I'm going to click at the check mark, and now you see that I have product, month, quantity, and I still have my column name. So that's how easy you can do this stuff. Okay. So now I have this. I'm going to rename my step custom for transform or transformations. TFRM, transform, and expand the data. I'm going to say exp data. Ready. Okay. And my quantity, I'm going to change my quantity for whole number. Okay. And I'm going to change that as CT for change type. I'm going to open the queries pane. I'm going to right click, new query, file Excel workbook. I'm gonna bring that file that is called dim product, where I have my two tables, one with the categories and the other one with the unit cost and sale price. So I'm gonna start with the product category, double click there, and it just takes a little bit of time. Ready. Okay, this is the product, the description, and the category that this product belongs to. And I'm going to come back to this one in a minute. So let me bring the other table. So right click anywhere here on the right side on the queries pane, and new query, file, Excel workbook. Same thing, dim product, and now I'm going to bring the second table. So the dim prod cost sale. I don't need the sheet, I just need the tables. So Control Shift plus to zoom in. So here even you can see the content of the tables, right? So I'm gonna bring now this one, dim product sale. I'm gonna say okay, selected and click okay. And now we have that information right over here. And in this case, it's okay. Power Query has changed the data type. I'm okay with that. So I'm gonna just press F2 and CT to rename that last step. And if you don't have, I don't like to have too much hard-coded column names as much as possible. I can leave it as is, or I can just remove the product as text. I don't really care if that's text or that is undefined data type. I press enter, and now you can see that from ABC has been changed to ABC 123, and these two columns are integer 64 or whole number. That's what the 123 means, whole number. Okay. So I'm gonna go back to, and there is nothing else that I need to do to this table, except like for our purposes. Oh no, yes, I need the unit cost. Yeah, we're gonna use unit cost and unit selling price. So I'm gonna go back to the other table, dim product category. And from here, before I have the change type, and actually don't need even to change the data type, I'm gonna remove that step. I need to transform the content of this column because as you can see, the product have an a dash between product and the number of that product, right? So let me go back here, Control Shift minus to zoom out, and I'm gonna just hide the queries pane. I'm gonna click at the column product, right click, and I'm gonna replace values. I'm gonna tell Power Query that from the dash, I want to replace it with an space, and I have provided that over here. I provided the dash, and you cannot see it, but there is a space right over here, okay? And I press escape too much, so I'm again replace values, dash, and I need to provide a space there. I'm gonna say okay. And this step will be called replace value, replace, I'm gonna just say rep value. Press enter, and now I have my products with product space and the number of that product. Perfect. That's all that I need, and now I'm able to transfer or to pass this to the data model. As I mentioned at the beginning, we're going to work with Power Pivot today, and I'm doing this. You can merge queries in Power Query, and you can multiply the unit cost, the unit selling price by the quantity. You can get the numbers through that as well. But keep in mind that if your data set is very, very long, if you have a million rows, if you have a bunch of columns, you probably need to think about or may want to consider to optimize how you create your queries. And measures in in Power Pivot will be calculated when they are used. So if you don't use them, then you don't consume memory. So just keep that in mind. So your resources, you optimize your resources as much as possible. So for that reason, I'm going to show today Power Pivot. And our files are not that big, but I also want to show you that option that you have, right? So I go to close and load, close and load. Oh, I forgot to do something. So I'm gonna just only create connection. I'm gonna go okay. I'm gonna go back to my queries. I'm gonna double click to the prod category. Control-Shift+ to zoom in, and I forgot to link the source to my directory. So here I'm gonna select from C up to May 29. I'm gonna delete that. And after the open parentheses for file contents, I'm gonna say my directory. That's why I put it right over here. I'm gonna provide the ampersand to concatenate with the other portion of the directory. Now is gonna bring the file dim products. I'm gonna click at the check mark. Nothing happens, but now if I change something in my directory, it will be changed now in sales and dim product category. So I'm gonna do the same. And now that I'm seeing here, I'm gonna do something else. I'm gonna go to dim product cost sales. I'm gonna go to source, remove that portion again, and now say my directory. I'm gonna concatenate with the file name. Okay, now I did that. Now from what I'm seeing as I'm going through these two tables, I have two tables for a product. And the tables are very small. I might as well just concatenate them or merge them, right? That's what I meant, merge them. So I'm gonna merge the product category and I'm gonna bring the unit cost and the unit selling price. So I'm gonna use only two tables in the data model. So here on the dim product category, I'm gonna rename it. I'm gonna say dim all products. So that's gonna be the one that is gonna be linked to the sales table. So now that I have the all products, here I'm gonna go to the home tab, and here at the top, you have merge queries. So I'm gonna click there and I'm gonna just select the first item, merge query, so I can merge the query on the same query that I'm working on. And I don't want to create a new query for the merge. So I'm gonna work on this one and I'm gonna select which other query I want to merge with. And that will be the product cost sale. And I'm gonna select the product, the column product in the first query. And I'm gonna select the column product in the second query. And you see at the bottom, it says that the selection matches 9 of 9 rows. So that's great. That's all that I want. I'm going to say, okay. I have a new column that is called dim product cost sale, and it's bringing that information that is coming from the other table. So I'm going to expand that information. I'm not going to use the original column name as prefix, and I'm not going to bring the product column because I already have it in the query, in the original query, right? So I'm going to say, okay. And now I have the unit price and the unit selling, the unit cost and the selling price in the same table. So these two these two queries, I'm gonna pass them. I'm gonna bring those to the data model. So here I'm gonna go to close and load. And now I'm gonna right click at my query sales, load to. And now here you see that at the bottom of this box, I have the option to add this to the data model. So I'm gonna click there to have a check mark. And now you see that I have connection only. I'm gonna say, okay. Now you will see that it's loading data and it has loaded 7,310 rows. That's because it loaded to the data model. And I'm gonna select, I'm gonna do the same with the dim all products. So load to, add to this data to the data model. I'm gonna say, okay. And now you see that we have those two queries loaded to our data model. Do we have any questions before I keep going? I don't see any, I think.
Yeah, no
Okay.
question.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so the next step is let's go to the data model. I have the Power Pivot tab over here. If you don't have it, that's fine. I'm gonna go a little bit fast right now, just to make sure that we are gonna finish on time. You can go to your data tab, click at this little green sheet or box, and then you can click at Manage Data Model. So from there, you will see that we have, you can see right here at the bottom that you have the sales and the dim all product tables. So I need to connect these two tables first. So here at the top, I'm going to click a diagram view. And I'm going to put the sales at the bottom, the team table on the top, and I'm going to connect these two tables through the product column. So I'm going to just select product, drag it, and find product number in my sales table. And now I have created a connection. This is kind of doing a VLOOKUP, XLOOKUP. So I have connected these two tables so I can use the content of those two tables in one pivot table, right? So that is the first step. I'm going to create the measures that are going to calculate the quantity times the selling price. So here at the bottom of my sheet sales, which has the table for the sales, I have the option to create my measures. And the measure will be shown here in the formula bar here at the top. So I'm going to say total sales. I need to provide the semicolon and the equal. In Power BI, you don't need to provide the semicolon. It's only in Excel when you work with the data model. So I'm going to say I want some X because I want to calculate the unit selling price, the sales for every single line. So some X. And I need to provide a table. You can see in here, we have I need to provide a table and I need to provide an expression. So the table will be the table that we're working on will be sales, and you can see it here. This is the table, comma, and the expression will be quantity. And I want the quantity, but I want the quantity when I see the name of the table and the column called quantity. So just best practices in case you have a measure called quantity or you have another column somewhere else called quantity, make sure that you select the name of the table and the column that you want to work with. So that is the first one. So I want to multiply that is for the selling, the unit selling price. And if I say selling, nothing appears here, but I connected the tables, right? So that's why I went to the diagram view and I connected the tables. Well, that information is coming from another table, so I'm gonna use the function related. And what related is gonna bring me is the value from another column. So I'm gonna select this related, and now you see that I'm able to see the content of the other table. And here is my unit selling price. I'm going to close parentheses and I'm going to press enter. And now you see that I have that calculation here at the bottom. When I mentioned that here at the bottom, you have that option to see your measures or to process your measures. So that's what you are going to see. So I click at the comma to have the 1,000 separators and I'm removing the decimals. Okay, I did that with the sales. I'm going to do the same with the cost. So I'm going to copy this measure here. I'm going to go one step, one row down. I'm going to Control V that in my formula bar. And instead of bringing the unit selling price, I'm going to bring the unit cost. And you can see it available right here. That's what I want. And I'm going to go to the end, press enter. And oh, yeah, I didn't change the name of the measure and saying, hey, you already have that measure name. So I'm going to change it for total cost because that is the cost is what I'm calculating. And I'm going to say, okay. Oh, I think you cannot see me anymore. I think my camera just decided to stop working. So you won't see me anymore, but I believe you can still hear me, right?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Okay, let's give it a break. It's too hot for Canada. I think we are 27 or 20 something degrees. So I guess the camera couldn't handle that anymore. Okay, so let's go and total cost. Now, same thing. I'm going to click at the comma to have the 1,000 separator, and I'm going to start removing the decimals. So yeah, I'm not patient, so I click at to remove the decimals. I click too fast, and it doesn't like it. So I need to give it time to remove one, and then finish, and then remove the other one. Now you can see I don't have any decimals over here. So I'm gonna go to the next line, and I'm gonna create a measure with the gross profit, which will be sales minus cost. So here I'm going to say gross profit, semicolon, equal. I'm going to press the control key and I'm going to just move the little thing that you have in the middle of your mouse. I'm going to kind of scroll to up, and then you can zoom in a little bit here. So now what I want to do, I'm going to take the total sales, my total sales right here, minus my total cost. I just created those measures, right? And I know they are measured because they have the addition sign here. So I know these ones are measured. So this is what I want, my total cost. I'm going to press enter. And now I have my gross profit. Same thing, I have my 1,000 separator. And let's remove the decimals. So I'm changing the format here because this will stay. If I bring this information to Excel, to my pivot table, this format will remain. When you do in Power Query, what you do there, you just set the data type, but you don't set the formatting. Here, what I'm doing, I'm setting the formatting that will carry to my pivot table in Excel. So now my last measure will be the percentage gross profit, semicolon, equal, and that will be divide. I want to divide the gross profit that I just calculated. I'm going to divide that by the total sales right here. Right here. I'm going to close parentheses and I'm going to press enter. Now that I have that calculation, I'm going to click at the percentage. I want to present this information as a percentage. And I'm going to remove one decimal. I'm going to keep only one decimal. Excellent. I'm ready to create my pivot table. Here on home, I have pivot table. I'm going to create pivot table from here. I could have also closed the data model or just minimize it and go to insert and create a pivot table from here, from my Excel. So I want to create that in the existing sheet, and I want to create that in my cell B2. I'm going to say, okay, okay. And now you can see here that you have available both tables, and you see that they have a little orange cylinder or gold cylinder. So that information is coming from Power Query. And if I remember correctly, I haven't worked on this in a long time, but if I remember correctly, that's what it means. And now I can use, for example, the category. I'm going to drag that information to my rows, and I'm going to drag the sales as well. And you see, I didn't use VLOOKUPs, XLOOKUP. I didn't merge the queries. I'm just connecting the tables, and I'm bringing information from both tables. Okay. If I had more tables and I connected more tables, I could be able to connect, to use the fields on those tables. So I have the category, I can bring the sales, I can bring the gross profit if I want, or I can change instead of the category, I'm gonna just drag it out from the rows. I can bring by product description right here. And I have that information also available for me. If I want to, I'm going to copy this, Control C, I'm going to say Control V. I don't want the gross profit on this one. I just want the sales. I'm going to add, I'm going to insert a chart. So I'm going to insert pivot chart, and I'm going to insert a bar chart. I'm going to say, okay. And from here, I can zoom in. Let me zoom in so you can see a little bit better. So from here, I probably want to sort. I'm gonna go more sort options. I'm gonna go to ascending. I can select, total sales. I'm gonna say okay. And now you see that my chart also has changed and it's sorting that information. It sorts backwards. If I sort my pivot table as ascending, you can see the information descending in the pivot chart. So just keep that in mind. And now that I have that information, I'm gonna cover. So here my pivot table, so you can see your charts. First, I'm gonna go to view. I'm gonna remove the grid lines. I don't like it. So now I'm going to go back to my chart, right click, hide all fields. I don't want this, I can just remove it, select it and remove it. I can go here and add data labels, let's say outside end. I can select that information, control 1 to format that. So now you see I can format the number right here at the bottom, and I'm gonna select a custom formatting. I have already used that, so I'm converting this into thousands. So how I transform that into thousands is I just grab my formatting, my original formatting, but I added an extra comma at the end, and that is what is removing the last three zeros, is presenting this information as thousands. So here I have that information, Control B to bold this number, so I can delete the bar here at the bottom. I can delete these lines. So now your chart starts looking a little bit more presentable. Let's say I like it like in this way for me. So I'm gonna go here to the where you see kind of a bucket with some paint. I'm gonna go to border, and I don't want the line, so now your chart doesn't have that line. And I can change the title. I can, instead of total, I can say sales and thousands, right? Go to the end, closing. Control A to select, Control B for bold, Control Shift, and the dot that is above your key alt, so you can increase the font size. You can put it here, or you can leave it in the middle, whatever you feel more comfortable with, whatever is your preference. Now you have a nice chart where you can evaluate, you can see the total sales, right? So, and let's say I'm gonna copy this pivot table here at the bottom. So when you are working with pivot tables, try to do one per sheet. In my case, just for purposes of this presentation, I'm doing a few pivot tables in the same place, but it's not a good practice. Okay, so let me move maybe category now, so we can see which category may bring better gross profit. So I'm going to remove the description, or maybe I can bring the region that is on the sales table. So where did I? Oh, I didn't change the name of that column. So it's called name, but it's bringing the region. I should have renamed that column. So it's here east, north, and south. I'm gonna go to design, report layout, showing tabular form. Now I have that information. If I want to see the totals, I'm gonna right click here, and I'm gonna select subtotal name, and now we have the total over here, right? So it's something to keep in mind, and or to consider. And now remember that we have only 3 files in my folder. I'm gonna go back there, and I have the West file, and my West file has no empty columns, right? So I'm gonna close this. I'm gonna go back here, Control C, go to sales where I have all my files, where my query is transforming the files inside of this folder. I have West now, right click, refresh, and now you should see the West store, or the West region here. And sure enough, here we are, we have 11 million instead of 8 million. So our queries are working properly. This has changed as well. Of course, the chart as well. Everything changes. Even if I modify my West file inside of that folder, as I said, let's say I'm gonna add some empty columns right here, and this column will be empty and nothing here. And the other ones won't have a title, so they will have column 1, 2, or whatever the name is. And I'm gonna say save this, close it, and now I go back here, right click and refresh, and nothing should change. So we have 11 to 32, 444, 11 to 32, 444, and I have my West store right region right here. So that's all that I have for you today. I hope you found this useful. I hope you consider some of these techniques and you find them that applicable to your day-to-day work. That's all that I have. Oh, you cannot see me still. Okay, let's see. My camera works now.
Yes. Thank you, Alejandra. This was really nice,
You're
something
very welcome.
Power Query, is always something you learn some new steps. That profile table dot profile was very new for me. I have never
It
tried,
is.
and it can really solve your problem when you have millions of rows of data. You can really understand what is happening around it.
Yes,
So,
yes. And I learned that from Melissa de Corte. Yeah,
okay, great,
yes.
great.
And saying that, I'm gonna provide this presentation as well. And the presentation has some links for some information or some resources that you may want to check. First, Ben Gribaudo, his Power Query M Prime section is very good, and he has a course in M language. Also, you have Melissa de Cortes, she's fantastic, Rick de Groot, and of course, Power Query in Microsoft. And you have books here as well. And so I hope you find this useful. Ah, and you can find me here. I always forget that. Okay, excellent. And you can find me here. Okay, thank you.
Great. So, Alexandria, just we are going to wrap up from the YouTube. It was really pleasure, having you over here, and we are expecting some more YouTube celebrities to come and meet on the Excel celebrities who's going to come and join our meetup, especially the women in tech who's going to come and show some amazing stuff on Excel. But before we leave, Alexandria, as usual, I would just like to you to give any last word, last thoughts for the YouTube fans, but we're going to still stay back on Zoom.
Yes, thank you so much for the support. Really, it means a lot to me to see you here. That you make the time to be with us and to be supporting and learning and sharing. So anything that you may find useful, share it because that's how we learn and we grow. And this is the purpose of these presentations: is to give back so much that we have learned through the community. So the more that you can share these tips is the better. So you learned something today or something was new to you today, share it because it will help you. Someone will ask you a question, will tell you something that you probably didn't consider before. So share it as much as you can because that will help you to learn. So that would be, and thank you so much for the support because I see some names that always supporting around. So I really appreciate that. And for those who don't know me yet, and it's the first time that you are seeing me, and if you like my content, thank you so much for the support. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you. And thank you so much for having me here. It's an honor to be in this forum, in this group. I really enjoy presenting. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexandria. And we are going to see you guys next month, inshallah. And we're going to make sure that you follow that meetup page. And I'm definitely going to announce soon the next meetup that's going to take place. Till then, take care. Bye and happy learning. See you next time.
See ya.